As we get set for Game 1 of the NBA Finals coming up Thursday night on ABC. All right, Legs, I'll start with you. Let's play a game called Fill in the Blank. A title for Jason Tatum would mean what, Legs?
Validation, Greeny. You're looking at a guy that has had 6 All-Star appearances, 3 consecutive first-team All-League appearances, and yet for some reason, Jason Tatum is still a guy that we have under the microscope going into this series. And if he's able to get a title, particularly if he plays well, which I don't think they can win one if he doesn't, if Jason Tatum pulls that off, it validates what he believes he's been as a player, and I think what his numbers back up that he has been despite all of the scrutiny.
Okay, I like it. We'll get back to him. Meanwhile, Zach, how about a former Celtic here? A title for Kyrie Irving would mean what?
He played for the Celtics? Oh, I forgot about that. It would mean, I'll say, a reminder. I was going to say redemption, but Kyrie would never use that word about himself. A reminder that for a half decade, it was about everything other than basketball.
Yeah.
It overshadowed what this dude is on the court, what a bad man he is, and now he has landed back with a guy similar to LeBron and is unstoppable as a number 2 guy. Reminder, this is who I am.
I like that. You're going to hear from Mark Cuban on that coming up in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, Legs, one more for you, and that's this guy. A title for Luka Doncic would mean what?
The league is in trouble. The league is in trouble if he figures it out this year with this team. Look, they made great additions. Everybody knows how much I loved what they did at the trading deadline. Kyrie Irving and Luka now meshing. If they get a title now with the age of Luka Doncic, this league is in trouble because he will have figured out how to navigate a very difficult West. Look at the path and the teams that they beat to get here. Luka Doncic will be set, I think, to start making a run at titles in Dallas.
But we'll see. You got to get one before you can get multiple. And how much does one matter? Big Perk was here the other day. He says he's not ready to anoint Luka the best player in the world until he gets that ring. Listen.
If you put Luka in the cage with 5 lines, you know what you go get? You go get 6 lines. Damn it, he's that bad. Right now, yes, is Luka a top 5 player in the NBA? He is. But he still have to complete the mission of winning the NBA championship before we anoint him of being the best player in the world.
All right, so as we continue or prepare to anoint him, can I put the full screen up there? I mean, just to remind everyone of what this guy has done and what he has meant to his team in this postseason. Luka Doncic has been as good in these playoffs as anyone has ever been. All those numbers on the right there. This has never happened before. He's the first player ever to lead the entire league in the entire postseason in points, rebounds, and assists alone on his way to the NBA Finals. So there are going to be people out there, Zach, who want to say a championship will make Luka Doncic the best player in the world. What do you think of that?
I think it's a totally valid argument. I mean, look, you can pick it. It would make 1A, 1B with Jokic and Luka. I am a little surprised how fast we're going to change the championship belt every year of who the best player alive is. Jokic did win his 3rd MVP in 4 years. He won a title. He won a Finals MVP. If Luka matches those accomplishments, then it's kind of 1A, 1B. I would still lean to Jokic regardless, but you can't go wrong with either one of these guys.
Here's the thing. You and I were talking about this before, and Zach, for those, the Low Post podcast, if you're a basketball fan, you don't need me to tell you about these kinds of conversations. But this is what I like to do on my radio show, and you do as well. We can do a little bit of it here. Best player in the world is not that fluid, right? I mean, whoever the best is the best. But the person who owns the league, sort of in a given moment, maybe does get handed over year to year. And there's no question Jokic owned the league this time last year. He was the one putting up numbers that we had never seen before, and he cruised to a championship. Legs, that's kind of the way I look at it. If they win the title, if Luka wins the title and is the MVP and continues to play the way he has played, then whether you think he's the best player or not, it's his league, and everyone else is trying to get to where he is. That make sense to you?
That's a great way to put it, Greeny. I completely agree with that assessment. And I also think, listen, I think it is important that he win a title first. You think about it, we're gonna call someone the best player in the league when they have yet to win an MVP and they have yet to win an NBA title. That's kind of unusual. Normally, one of those 2 things are going to have to happen before you do that, because we have a guy in Denver that just won his 3rd MVP in 4 years and has been an NBA champion just a year ago. So listen, you know how I feel about Luka Doncic, and this guy is the best offensive player in the NBA right now. And in fact, historically, what he did this year is one of the greatest seasons any player's had as an offensive player in this league. If he finishes the deal and gets an MVP with his talent and the way that he controls the game, I'm okay with people labeling Luka Doncic the best player in the league. I just think right now he's going to have to finish that deal before he gets there because of what is on Jokic's resume.
Can I, by the way, take a moment to give Legler his credit? Because you weren't with me on Friday when we talked about them wrapping up the series. But I will take everyone back. The day after the trade deadline, when they acquired those two guys in Dallas, Legler came on here and he said he liked those deals so much. I wish I had the words, exact words in front of me. He said, I could see this team going all the way to the finals. That was at a time when no one was talking about the Mavericks going to the NBA finals. Everything in the West was about Minnesota. Everything in the West was certainly about Denver, the surprise that was Oklahoma City. And I believe that was right at the time the Clippers looked ridiculously. Remember, there was a moment in time, feels like 10 years ago, when we thought the Clippers looked like a championship team. And Legler said to me after those trades, watch out for Dallas. This team could make a run all the way to the championship, and here they are.
Yeah, I mean, the trades were always going to make this team better this season. The risk was about going forward, and had they overpaid too much to, correct. Dallas, to their credit, they pay to correct mistakes that they had already paid for. Grant Williams, Jalen Brunson let it go. They pay and pay and pay. But if this team was going to be better, I didn't think they were going to make the finals. This is a surprise to me. Credit Legs. But the whole point of these trades was long-term cost for short-term gain. You better make a short-term game, and damn it, these guys really did. I mean, they can beat anybody. They are a championship-level team.
Luka Doncic, a player like this, when you have no answer defensively, he's not affected really by anything. Personnel, scheme, doesn't matter. Pressure, none of those things get to him. So that's the foundation for all of this. But what those additions at the trading deadline meant to me was you can now look at this as a team that can beat you in a different way than just Luka and Kyrie being spectacular. And that way is with really active athletes. And they've got now 4 of them all over the floor. And here's the other thing that really stood out to me. When you only had Lively there and Derrick Jones at the beginning of the year, I felt like they weren't good enough defensively to force Luka and Kyrie to buy in, right? Because they weren't on that level where they were going to have to play hard every possession defensively. When they added Gafford and P.J. Washington, it almost like looking at the film, Luka and Kyrie have to be in there like, wait a second, I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb if I'm not the one competing defensively. And I really believe they elevated their intensity and their attention to detail and their want to after those trades, because now they have balance defensively across the floor. And I think for me, that's what this finals is going to be about. Dallas's defense in controlling Boston's buzzsaw offense, and Boston's defense figuring out a way to make Luka and Kyrie less efficient.
Well, these guys have been neck and neck with Boston as the best defensive team in the league since they made these trades. That is, as much as anything, the story of the Mavericks rising to the finals. And to Legs' point, Boston's offense is at its best when it can point to a small guard and say, we're picking on you every possession. Halliburton, Garland, Tyler Hero. The Mavs don't offer that for them. Luka Doncic is competing, and he's big. Kyrie Irving is 6'2", but he plays much bigger than his size. He's hard to move. He's big and strong. This is going to be a big, big test for Boston's offense, and these guys are competing. It's been an awesome, awesome story.
All right, so I want to play the Kyrie stuff here, and then, but we're a little later than I meant to be, so I want to make sure we have plenty of time. But I'll let you start hearing this now, and then we'll come back to it a little bit later. So you say to yourself, who saw this coming? I told you Legs saw it coming several months ago. 9 months ago, Mark Cuban was here. He was sitting in this room, and he came on my radio show with Hembo and me. He was sitting right where Zach is sitting right now. And we were talking about Kyrie Irving, and this was at a time when the perception of Kyrie Irving was vastly different from what it is now. And I want you to hear what Mark Cuban saw coming 9 months ago, because candidly, I don't think anyone took it seriously.
Kyrie has matured. Look, we all benefit from our life's story, right, and the things we experience. And I talked to Kyrie a fair amount, and we'll have long, deep conversations where I spend a lot of time listening, and there's things we agree on, things we disagree on, but he's well-spoken and he's smart. And I think Kyrie has not been in the situation where people just respect him for him, and he wants to be more than just a basketball player, which I respect. And so, that's the Kyrie, the person side of it. Kyrie, the professional athlete that plays for the Dallas Mavericks, he knows it's Luka's team. You know, he knows the narrative about him. He's not dumb. He's smart. And he recognizes that, you know, he's got to fit and play within, you know, the role he has relative to Luka in order for us to be successful. And if we're successful, Kyrie's successful.
So I'll admit, in that moment when I went, I was thinking, oh yeah, that'll work. I mean, it sounded so far-fetched to me, I will confess at the time, because we lived in an alternative universe, or maybe this is an alternative universe from what that was, because everything has changed so much, but Cuban had it exactly right.
It's astonishing, actually, to go back and listen to how on point he was and how low the whole NBA world was on Kyrie Irving. I mean, they got him for a song. We'll talk later about that trade. And they didn't have a lot of competition re-signing him in free agency after they had tanked the season last season. That's how low, not just at the trade deadline, but also in the offseason, the broader league was on Kyrie Irving. But it's never been about basketball. When this dude is on the floor, he's unstoppable on offense. He's an artist, and he fits perfectly next to a big ball handler like Luka. The Mavs deserve an enormous amount of credit for taking a risk that no one else was really willing to take, for envisioning the basketball fit and going for it. And the one thing that they have that almost no other team has, the thing that allows you to take those risks, the thing that allows you to get off the mat and survive if those risks go bust, is a 25-year-old first-team All-NBA, no-brainer top 3 player. He is the solution to every problem, the fallback option to every failure. It's Luka Doncic, and they were right to recognize that and act on it.